Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, stop this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. Everybody in this context refers to us and our cats. You are free to feel however you want about Rand. He's a fictional character. Please don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
So, I've forgotten everything I've read and thought about.
Because there's
In
like
my life.
nothing really to talk about.
This is Everybody Hates Rand, your friendly neighborhood Wheel of Time podcast. I'm Emily Jushaw.
And I'm Sally Gutcher.
And, a long section with not a lot of discourse to be had. Lots of, plot stuff, but not plot stuff I super care about.
Yeah, it's all just annoying. It's all just our female characters can't ever be wrong or ever lose, which really bugs me.
Yeah, but simultaneously, they're all the stupidest people in the entire world.
Yeah.
Which is tough to reckon with.
Yeah, it's hard to reconcile, how is Elayne acting like an absolute buffoon, and yet the narrative is telling us that she wins this negotiation.
Yeah, that she's really good at it.
It's really exhausting.
Yeah, we've got Elayne, we've got Matt, we've got Fail, we've got Perrin. And I hope to God that that's it.
We have a 2-year-old.
We have a 2-year-old. Alright, I'll accept a 2-year-old's application to the narrative.
Yeah, he's at least doing something unlike the rest of every character in the series.
Yeah, he's doing a big battle. He is single-handedly waging the last battle.
Yeah, seriously.
Which we're gonna get repeated, throughout this book. We're gonna get repeated, little segments of chapters where we go see what Eturald is up to in the city of Meridon. Don't be fooled, it's not Marathon.
Meridon.
Meridon. Like a megalodon.
There's a big shark that lives there. It's a 2-year-old's friend.
That's nice to think about.
Yeah, this is my big shark friend.
This is my giant shark friend. And it will be... It's, I think, one of the least offensive, certainly, and one of the more interesting subplots of Towers of Midnight. I just had to check the spine of the book because I forgot which one we were talking about. Just because we get to watch the sort of, psychological disintegration of someone who is in a really tough battle situation for a long period of time without a lot of support. And, Brandon Sanderson's pretty good at writing action sequences, battles.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's sort of our light in the darkness getting to return to Eturald, even if he doesn't quite read like the Eturald of the past, Got that Brandon flavor.
Yeah, not even close.
But, he's still just a guy doing his fighting.
Just imagining, a bottle of seasoning that's like Brandon Sanderson, and you're just rolling them in batter and sprinkling them.
I'm picturing it like the Nickelodeon slime, It just gets dumped on random characters.
Just a vat.
Because some characters fly under the radar,
Yeah.
Gawain, I can't tell the difference because he's equally obnoxious in both.
Yeah, Brandon Sanderson showed up on my TikTok today.
He has a TikTok?
I know, I was shocked too. I was especially I'm sure my phone, and I'm sure the little robots in my phone are picking up that I say his name several
these
times
sluts
a week.
are mad horny for Brandon Sanderson.
And it's just what?
Yeah, so Eturald, he's the Brando flavor of Eturald now. It's like how all the various Mountain Dews have different.
Code Red.
Yeah, Code Red.
Eturald, Code Red.
Code Brando. So he's not quite the same, obviously, but he's still just like a military guy who's interacting with the military and with a military situation. And honestly, there aren't any women for there to be anything problematic
For it to be
said.
really offensive, yeah.
So
Two worlds just running around being like, they've got the trebuchets out, they being the Trollocs, who are conducting guerrilla warfare.
it's like sort of mind-boggling to realize that there is actively a concerted invasion going on in the Borderlands, you know? Like, that's not something that we have come up against so far. It's been sort of like steadily implied throughout the series that it's something that will happen eventually, and of course we had the prologue at the beginning of this book where we had people reacting as if to some sort of invasion. But now we're just getting like, oh no, actively there is some sort of huge army coming up against some city in Saldia. We get a map of Meridon, but not really a clear idea of where Meridon is in Saldia. And like from a wider lens narrative standpoint, we're getting Eturald going through this battle mostly just to be sort of our like check-in of like, yeah, not only is the last battle imminent, which we've been telling you for the last several books, but it is actively like starting.
It's happening,
And it's just one short little guy.
Just one little guy and
his little
army,
beauty marks or whatever.
Cunty little beauty marks.
No, serving
running
cunt.
around the Borderlands.
Yeah,
5'1".
Trebuchets, and they're flinging corpses at us. Only some of the corpses aren't corpses. And I'm like, I feel like if a live person got flung in a trebuchet, they'd soon be a corpse, but what do I know?
I know, they're like Drakars or whatever.
Yeah, which are winged.
Yeah. So
the implication being that if you have wings, you can survive being flung in a trebuchet, but it's not like they were like...
it's not like they used their wings to fall down.
Slowed their fall by
just
flinging out their wing. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's an attempt to be clever.
Yeah.
Wow.
The Trollocs. Sun Tzu.
Yeah, Sun Tzu up here. I love it when everyone is quoting Sun Tzu all over the place. The plan doesn't last until the first arrow gets shot.
The party don't start till I walk in. That's a quote from Sun Tzu.
Yeah, it is, and that's what a 2-year-old's theme song is. It's like slaying Drakkar and also slaying us.
Yeah, also just slaying.
Yeah.
Slay. Yeah, slay.
Yas, queen. Okay, so that's a 2-year-old.
That's a 2-year-old. He's doing great.
There's just sort of, because we have like a chapter that's Elayne and Matt centric, and then Perrin and Fael in the middle, and a 2-year-old, and then back to Matt and Elayne. So going to the Perrin and Fael, I guess. We have Perrin in Teleron Riyadh interacting with Hopper, and we're sort of getting our but like Hopper's attempts at teaching / mentoring Perrin.
Yeah, and Hopper's like, you're so stupid, why don't you get what I'm saying? And he's sending like collage, like Pinterest boards of instructions.
He's
and
like, here's your
like,
inspiration board, and Perrin's like, I don't know how to tell you, pal, that I'm not a wolf.
Yeah.
I have but 2 legs and 1 stupid brain.
Yeah. Hopper's like, well,
Hopper's like, you're inadequate then.
Yeah,
This
get
is
it
terrible.
together.
For the love, why don't you just turn into a wolf? I'll feel better. It starts out with Perrin and Teleron Riyadh, and he's like doing this thing that we've seen Egg do many times, which is like scout the enemy's camp via Teleron Riyadh. And as he's doing this, Perrin's like, dang, I didn't even think of doing this when Fael was kidnapped in Malden. And it's really funny for me to wonder about whether that's because Perrin didn't think about it or because Robert Jordan
didn't think about it.
And Brandon is like, so I better address that.
Yeah, kind of an oversight, RJ.
Sometimes Brandon Sanderson taking over this series reminds me of all of the live-action Disney movies that are coming out that are just, like, designed to address plot points that only nerds on the internet cared about.
Sure.
Like, you know, isn't it Stockholm Syndrome in Beauty and the Beast? We better have her be a feminist.
We better have her be a girl boss who can read.
Who's inventing literacy or something.
Yeah, she is she's the only person on the planet who can read currently.
I don't know.
And she's teaching the populace.
The female populace.
Yeah,
little girls.
Not the men.
Yeah, God forbid. So anyway, that's how that makes me feel sometimes.
Yeah.
But Perrin is approached by Hopper, who's like, follow me, and does his little teleporting thing, and Perrin's like,
girl, where'd you go?
girl, what? I don't know how to follow someone who's teleporting. And Hopper's like, fine, just come with me to Emmons Field. Perrin goes there, and Hopper tries to communicate to him, like, when you come to Teleron Riyadh, you are, like, too much here, and so you need to anchor yourself in the real world, and for you, that's, like, your home. And Perrin's like, well, I don't really have a connection to Emmons Field anymore, which is fucking hilarious of him to say.
Yeah, where his whole family got murdered.
Yeah, his whole family. He's like, forget about my unnamed family members' graves. My whole world is fail now.
Yeah.
And Hopper's like, yeah, whatever works for you. I don't give a fuck. If you have to think about fail, then do it. And he's like, but you also gotta be fucking, like, quick on your feet and make sure that you are anchored in Teleron Riyadh simultaneously so no one can shunt you out of it. Mm-hmm. So he's doing this little, like, you know, Mr. Miyagi training sequence with Perrin of trying to get him to prepare himself for psychological attacks in Teleron Riyadh. And, like, I don't find any of that particularly offensive. I feel like the whole training sequence in Teleron Riyadh is something that I at least find interesting to see how Perrin and Edwin have had very different approaches to learning Teleron Riyadh. Mm. You know? I think this would have worked a lot better if it had come much earlier in the series.
Yeah.
If Perrin hadn't put this off for so long, I do get the sense that, again, Brandon Sanderson is like, here's something that would have been fucking cool 6 books ago, so might as well slide it in under the wire while we're just dithering about with Perrin and the White Cloaks.
Yeah.
But, like, it is interesting to see the world always through Hopper's perspective. He's the best character.
That's true.
That's like this weird ghost wolf who's like, yeah, I'm mentoring this young idiot over here for reasons unbeknownst to anyone else. I had a 3-minute connection with him, and now he's my son, I guess. Yeah. I'm like,
that's how it works in the wolf world.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, Hopper, I would do anything you said. I want to be trained by Hopper in the wolf world, rather than stumbling about, I guess, being trained by the wise ones. That was Egg's experience.
Yeah, much less pleasant than running around with wolves, I think.
Yeah, getting to hunt deer and whatnot.
Yeah,
do your thing.
You're so spot on, though. Like, I think it would have been... I don't know if they would need to be, like, exactly simultaneously, like this arc and Egg's arc, but much closer, because by now I've basically, like, forgotten how Egg did it, other than, like, it's a little bit more rigid, and Hopper's a little bit more liminal, because he's a wolf. You know?
Yeah, and, like, Brandon Sanderson will, luckily, throughout this book, sort of try and combine those parallel arcs of Perrin and Edwin, and, like, show us how they have different learnings and different strengths.
Good.
Unfortunately, I do think he sort of, like, ends up coming out strongly in Perrin's favor, being like, oh, well, of course, Perrin's superior because he's a man.
He's a man.
You know, that's not, I'm sure, his intention, but that's what, in the man versus woman books, sort of ends up feeling like.
Sure, absolutely.
But at least that will be addressed, and we'll get to see them simultaneously doing fun things in Teleron Riyadh.
Cool. Sweet.
At the end of this little section, Perrin and Hopper encounter some sort of, like, force field wall. And they're like, what the fuck is this? And Hopper's like, don't like it. Let's go somewhere else. And I think it, like, disappears.
Yeah.
And Perrin's like, okay, that was weird.
Moon's haunted.
Moon's haunted.
Sort of
and
Hopper's
then they just
vibe.
leave. Yeah, Hopper's like, Moon's haunted. We better go somewhere else. Yeah. We then switch over to Fail, who goes to address the Berelain situation. I shan't draw out the agony. She just goes into Berelain's tent and is like, listen, we can't keep doing this. You're an idiot. I hate your guts. You're not gonna ever fucking end up with Perrin. Clearly you expected me to die in Malden, but here I am, bitch, so
yeah.
What are we gonna do about it now? And Berelain's like, boobily, you know, the way she does. Berelain's like, I don't know. I'm just a slut with a god complex. I don't know what Robert Jordan's doing with me here. And Fail's like, okay, well, I'm not smart enough to think of anything because I'm but a woman.
Sure.
So I'm going to challenge you to single combat. And in her head, she's like, please, God, don't let Berelain actually take me up on this.
Yeah.
Single combat. Which at least is a refreshing amount of character growth from Fail, who undoubtedly would have challenged Berelain sincerely to single combat back in book 4 or 5.
Sure.
But she's like, I just want to put Berelain in a situation where she's desperate enough to agree to an alternative. And think of an alternative. And Berelain's big plan is, let's pretend to be friends. And everyone will be like, oh, well, surely Fail wouldn't befriend someone who'd actually slept with her husband, so... And then it'll all go away. And also I'll, like, put out an official statement. Being like, no, I didn't fuck Perrin.
I did not have sexual relations
I did not have
woman.
sexual relations with that wolf man. I did want to, though.
I did think about it, and I did try.
I should think about it, yeah. And it's just like, I don't know. It's like, yeah, this is growth for Fail, I guess. And I'm happy for her, I guess. But this whole plot has been so agonizing.
Yeah, like, Fail keeps being like, it's been time to address the Berelain problem. It's been time to address the Berelain problem. And, like, maybe I'm just not, like, immersed fully enough into, like, the culture of the Two Rivers, which is, like, a very purity-based culture where infidelity is such a big deal. But I just keep being like, what Berelain problem? Like, I'm sorry there are rumors about you, but does this really affect anything? Like, Fail references how it makes Perrin look like a bad leader, and Berelain correctly is like, lots of leaders have dealt with rumors of infidelity, like, it's nothing he can't overcome. And Fail's like, but I can't figure out how to do it, you know?
Yeah, like, Fail's like, well, but it's different, because you come from a slut country, and I come from a country where people get married and never cheat on their partners.
Yeah.
Because that's something that has happened anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And also it's just like, people keep being like, this is a huge problem in terms of Perrin's reputation and his leadership, and we have not actually seen any visible consequences of that, except that Perrin is uncomfortable with people.
Perrin keeps being like, they keep, like, looking at me funny, and it's like, okay, is that real, or is that like some perceived story that you've made up?
Yeah, this whole thing just sort of feels like a problem that was created so that Fail has something to do and manifest character growth in. In reality, it would be much more satisfying if Perrin could just be like, you know what, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I'm confident enough in me and my relationship with my wife, and very importantly, she believes me that I didn't cheat on her.
Yeah.
Like, what else do we need? That's the important thing.
Yeah.
And, like, if I were a leader and was just like, hey, Perrin and Fail seem to have a completely normal relationship after all that, I'd be like, yeah, clearly, even if that is something I'm concerned about, I care about that more than, you know, whatever Berelain's doing.
Yeah, like, I think the people in Perrin's camp care more about having enough food to eat than whether or not their weird, reluctant leader had an affair.
Yeah, it's just like making something out of nothing.
Yeah, so it just blows up into this whole scene where it feels like, I challenge you to a single combat knife fight, and Berelain is like, hey, actually, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Berelain's like...
And Berelain is correct.
Yeah, and Fail's like, I just have to make her think that something the fuck is wrong with me.
Yeah.
So that she'll solve this problem. And I'm like, what is the like, gymnastics that we're going through just to correct a problem that isn't a problem?
Yeah, like, part of it is funny thinking of Fail playing on her own reputation of being sort of feral.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And her being like, Berelain will believe that I will get into this knife fight. And the other part of me is like, it would be really funny to watch Fail and Berelain have a knife fight.
Yeah,
like, does Berelain even know how to use a knife?
Yeah.
Hard to say.
It's also silly because, like, okay, how I see this problem actually manifesting, the way that we're complaining it's not, is the Two Rivers guys leaving.
Sure.
Since they're the main people at stake here, you know? And Perrin has made it abundantly clear that he wants them to leave.
Yeah.
So...
And he doesn't want to be in charge of them. So why do you care if there are consequences? They align with what you want.
This is just something that is nothing. This is just wasted pages. Wasted words. Speaking of wasted pages, Matt and Elayne.
Matrim.
We catch up with Matt as he sees off the Aes Sedai. And a surprising amount of people go with the Aes Sedai to Tarvalon. Julian and Amathera, his sad girlfriend. They're also leaving, so are Aegianan and Bael Domon. I think that's it from the original caravan.
Yeah.
So more or less Matt is left with, of the people he left Abu Dar with, obviously he's got his army, but he's still got Tom, Noel, Oliver, and Satalanan is also staying behind. Oh, and also the Soldam are leaving.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, the strike is over, so we're allowed to talk about the Wheel of Time show
right.
now, and I just want to say they handled it way better in the show.
Yeah.
Egg getting to murder
her abuser, amazing.
That was sick.
That was fucking sweet. And what is the actress's name? Madeline Madden, is that her name?
Madeleine Madden, yeah.
Yeah. Madeline Madden who played Egg. Madeline, I don't know. She did such a good job.
Oh, yeah.
With that whole arc. I mean, she's an incredible actress, but like that whole arc in particular with Egg being
psychologically and physically abused.
Yeah, she just like the acting was off the charts there.
Yeah,
she did an incredible job. It
was riveting in an unpleasant way.
Yeah.
Which I think was supposed to be the point, and made me think a lot about how I think in our initial reading of book 2, we were kind of praiseworthy of the time skip.
Yeah.
And how it didn't actually go into like the sort of intimate little violences that were being committed against Egg's person. And perhaps I still stand by that, but I do think there is also some merit of being like, here's exactly how horrible the Shanshin are from a main character's point of view. And hopefully the show will not then go out of its way to redeem the Shanshin. But we won't know that for probably many years.
Yeah, if that's what we ended up saying, I still stand by it in like a book format. I think that is really difficult, and candidly, I don't think Robert Jordan would have handled it very well.
Yeah, he certainly does not have the writing ability.
Yeah,
probably to
just across. To just get across that sort of like nuances and emotion and the way that they're breaking down her psyche.
But Madeline Madden sure did.
Yeah, exactly. It fell with the talent that it needed.
Yeah, you're right.
And it just, I think, works much better in, like, a visual format where you
and
keep
then it was
those, like...
so fucking sick when she got to kill Renna.
I know, when she was just like...
I was like, yes,
fuck
bitch.
you, Renna. I was like, yeah, Slay!
Get her!
That's my Amyrlin!
That's my Amyrlin Seat.
So I hope Egg, throughout the series, throughout the show, retains a little bit more of that, grit.
Yeah, anyway, so the Soldam are going to Tarvalon.
Yeah.
And they're like, they have a weird interaction with Matt where Matt's like, yeah, go learn, and then maybe we can figure out how to keep the Empire from falling apart together. And they're like, hey, Slay, that's a way to think of it that we hadn't thought of before. Like, we have this weird guy on our side who's now technically the Emperor, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Consort. So maybe we can actually do something good for the country that we still love despite the horrors it has committed against people who are like us. And I'm like, this doesn't...
Wait a second.
And also, Matt, why do you want to keep the Empire intact? It's so stupid.
You're so horny for your mean wife.
Anyway.
You of all people should not give a fuck about this Empire.
We've wasted enough fucking airtime on the Shanshin's redemption, but...
Yeah.
Matt sends them off. He gives Julian a prank. Not Julian. That would be hilarious if he gave Julian.
It would be funnier if it was Julian, I think.
Prank cream puffs or whatever that turn his mouth blue. That's what he gives to Julie. And it's supposed to be this big comedic moment.
And it's not.
And it's
just
not.
in
It's
case
not
you're
really
missing
funny.
that tone.
Yeah, sorry. It was just like, okay. He goes and sees Satalanan. Basically to be like, hey, can you keep an eye on Oliver? I'm going to move him into the city and the Golem's all after us, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, yeah, for sure. The whole, like, little scene lit is just laden with the classic misogyny of Matt being like, women, am I right?
Am I right?
Sitcom audience laughter.
Yeah.
But, like, as with every other Matt and Satalanan scene, there is a sweetness to it. Like, it's nice at the end that Matt is like, so you're not going to Tarvalon? And she's kind of like, yeah, trauma, And he's like, yeah, I'm sorry about whatever happened. And she's like, thanks, pal. And then they part ways,
Yeah.
Like, that's nice. I wish we had more of it, and I wish the sitcom laugh track wasn't happening in the background. Elayne, meanwhile, meets with the leaders of the kin, Elise or Alice. I never remember what we settled on, and Sumiko. Perhaps we didn't settle on one, because she was mostly in the Path of Daggers, and we didn't read that.
Yeah. Let's go with Alice.
I mean, first she's, like, up in this garden where she met Rand, and yet again, Brigitte like, sure would be nice if you weren't making yourself a very visible target for any assassin, and Elaine's like, nothing can happen to me because I'm an idiot.
Because of my babies.
Because of my plot armor. And Brigitte's like, plot armor isn't real.
Yeah, Brigitte's like, you can still have healthy babies if you lose an arm, are in a coma, become very critically ill, like...
And Egg's just like, I will ignore that sign because I can't read, you know? Like,
yeah, literally.
So
this sign
stupid.
doesn't apply to me because I can't read.
We're not even, like, given any attempt at Elayne rationalizing this because the authors know there is no rationalizing this. Any reasonable person would be like, you make good points.
Yeah.
And I will try and be more cautious, especially given that a couple of books ago I got kidnapped and blah, 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 blah. But we're just so committed to have Elayne being this buffoon of a person.
Yeah, I also don't understand why it, like, matters either to the plot or to her that she's, like, allegedly not in danger. Like, okay, so? Like, I really just don't understand this plot. Like, it just gives her an excuse to do all these dumb things, which is exactly what you're driving at. It's just, like, they want her to be this buffoon of a character. But if someone gave me this weird little prophecy, I would be like, great, still no reason to go rock climbing without a harness, you know? Like, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it would be much more, like, gratifying if we had Elayne being like, yes, these are reasonable suggestions. I am still going to take reasonable amounts of risks, though, you know, not because I think that danger doesn't apply to me anymore, but because some risks you still have to take.
Yeah.
Things be dangerous still.
Yeah.
Like, it would be perfectly reasonable for her to be to Brigitte, like, I'm in a protected part of the palace.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, like, let fear of being shot point blank constantly ruin any enjoyment I have of life.
Sure.
That's a reasonable thing to say.
Yeah.
Similarly, I don't agree with her decision to go after the Black Asha a couple of books ago, but if she had just been like, you know what, I'm the most powerful channeler here, this is something that requires my presence, then that would have been infinitely more admirable than her just being like, I can't die.
Yeah, instead, Brigitte brings this up, and Elayne is like, I've already told you that being in charge, some of you may die.
Some of you may die, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Like, she's...
And Brigitte's like, for the love of God.
Like, Elayne is basically quoting Lord Farquaad.
Yeah. The similarities between Elayne and Lord Farquaad are striking, honestly. Lord Farquaad is obsessed with Fiona the way Elayne was obsessed with Rand for many books.
Some of you may die. That is a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Yeah, she's like, being queen means that you have to let go of feeling guilty when other people die for you. And I'm like, I don't think that's what it means.
True. Elayne also interacts with every peasant as though they are Shrek. I'm just saying.
All right. Prepare for my upcoming literary analysis comparing Elayne to Lord Farquaad. Some of you may die.
Some of you may die. Anyway, Elayne meets with the kin and is like, I have a plan that will ultimately just benefit Andor because that's what I'm all about. And it's that I want to install, like, the kin's base of operations here in Andor, and you'll provide gateways and healing for me, and in return,
you live here.
You live here, and I don't know.
I guess I give you protection. She doesn't even say that, but it's kind of implied that they... And Alice, again, whatever her name is, it's like, so you just want us to be in your pocket. And Elaine's like, no.
Yeah, but don't say it. It's rude.
Yeah.
They're just like, this is just clearly, like, to benefit Andor and to, like, give you an edge.
Mm-hmm.
You just, like, Elayne's power grubbing little hands are so upsetting.
Yeah.
The way that she's going about all of this. And they're just like, I don't think that Amyrlin, who is technically in charge of us, would approve of this. She's like, don't worry, I'll talk to Egg about it, and it'll be totally fine that I'm, like, paying you guys to create gateways. And it's important anyway, because I need an edge against the Shanshin or something. And I'm just like, this is nothing. This is nothing.
It is just more power grubbing to set up Elayne to be, like, the queen of all time.
To be like, wow, she's so good at making these incredible decisions to secure power in Andor. We then get a chapter of Matt finally going to visit Elayne. He has an obnoxious interaction with Oliver, you know, the classic bit, all the classic quote-unquote comedic bits. But he, Tom, and Talmanes with an escort, like, go into Camelin, go up to the city, and are met by our good old friend, Gaibon. Boy, I really almost called him Chubane.
Charles.
Yeah, good old Charles. Meets them and is like, I'm here to escort you. He's like, they have this weird bit where they're like, he's like, I've heard all these crazy rumors about you. And Matt's like, oh, Worm, what have you heard? And he's like, I heard you walked into Death's domain and demanded answers to your questions. And I heard you got hanged for 9 days. And it's like an obnoxious scene because it's Brandon flavor Matt. But like, it is interesting to at least think about the concept of Matt as a character who we know is very archetypal, kind of within his lifetime, having, like, facing the fact that real things that happen to him are, like, already exploding and expanding into myths and archetypes. Like, that's kind of interesting to think about, I guess. But
yeah, I agree.
That's it. It's not very funny, this little combo.
Yeah, it's not very funny, and it could have been funnier in different hands, but it is, like, fun and interesting.
Yeah.
For Charles to be like, you were hanged for 9 days, and Matt being like, that's ridiculous. Who gets hanged for 9 days and lives? I was hanged for, like, a minute.
For, like, 9 seconds.
Yeah.
And I wish I hadn't been.
Yeah.
I wish Matt and Gaibon would kiss.
That'd be fun, I think.
He says Gaibon is pretty. And I'm
Yeah.
like, Matt, you're not beating the bisexual allegations. But also, I don't want to do that because I know Brandon Sanderson is doing this extremely heroic thing of being like, straight men can call men pretty.
Yeah.
That Robert Jordan has refused to do thus far.
Yeah, like...
Because sometimes men be pretty, you know?
Yeah, God. That, sometimes there's nothing else you can say, but that man is very pretty.
Timothy
Shillamy. Tilmy Shillamy is a very pretty man.
I'm making chocolate, of course.
I'm making chocolate, of course.
Oh, Sally doesn't say that. It makes me so happy. Okay, anyway.
Guys, don't go see Wonka.
Yeah, for fuck's sake, don't give the... I know it's funny, but, like, don't commit to the bid that much. Don't give the money. I won't rest until Tilmy Shillamy is bankrupt.
Emily's personal mission in life is bankrupting Timothy Chalamet.
Against Timothy Chalamet. I want you guys to know I really don't think about Timothy Chalamet at all in my real life. It's only
Why would you?
On this podcast. Matt and Elayne meet. The entire scene is just, you know, filled with the classic misogynist drivel of Matt's point of view these days. I do think that a lot of it just, like, lacks the subtlety that it had in the Robert Jordan era. It's upsetting to think of anything Robert Jordan ever did as being quote-unquote subtle.
Yeah.
But we really are facing, like, Brandon Sanderson, as one would if you were not the author, but trying to mimic the author's style, just having, like, the blunt instrument of this.
Yeah.
Gender dynamics. So it's just a lot more apparent, hard to miss. You just, like, keep saying things about Elayne's looks and blah, 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 blah.
Oh my God. For 1 second, just Elayne says, in her point of view, and then Matt references here that she has gained weight. Mm-hmm. But Elayne says in her point of view, she's like, the pregnancy is barely showing, but I feel enormous is the word that she elects. And it just made me so insane. It's like, 2 months pregnant, you're probably not even showing. She's like, I had to get whole new clothes. And it's
She's like, what a bother. And I'm like, yeah, being rich must be so hard for you.
She's like, I'm gonna have to get new clothes again. It's like, sorry. That's what being pregnant means.
Maybe go shop in the maternity section at Old Navy like the rest of us, Elayne. God damn it.
Get some stretchy pants. You'll live.
They look mad comfy.
They do look mad comfy. Anyway, sorry, I just had to, speaking of misogyny.
Yeah, we're just, and also fat phobia, just like the idea that we must talk about weight whenever it fluctuates at all in a woman. Yeah. It is like sort of meant to be comedic relief here that Matt's like, oh, Elayne's gained weight. I'm not going to say anything about that because you don't say things like that.
Yeah.
And then Tom's like, how's the pregnancy? And Matt's like, the what?
The what? The what now?
And she's like, yeah, Rand and I fucked. And Matt's like, okay.
Congrats.
That's great for me to know. Anyway, I need to talk to you about cannons.
Yeah.
And it's just like a haggling scene. Like, Matt is like, here's these cannons I want to make. I need your resources. And Elayne's like, okay, well, obviously, I'll make them if they're mine. And Matt's like, I don't want to do that. Yeah, I don't trust you, bitch.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, you can't just have my resources, blah, 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 blah. They come to an agreement. The agreement is largely immaterial to us. The important part for now is that it will keep the band near Camelin while the cannons are being made. And slightly beyond that, because Elayne has essentially, like, contracted them as freelancers along with the cannons.
Yeah.
Matt also agrees to lend Elayne the Foxhead Medallion to study for 3 days, despite the fact that he knows the Golem is out in the city and after him, and that is his only protection. But Elayne is like, ideally I'll be able to make copies. So then Matt's like, well, that could be good for fighting the Golem purposes. Mm-hmm. And more or less that's the same. The only other through line in that chapter is that Matt looks absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah.
And everyone is like, what happened to you? And he's like, I have been 12 hours without my serving man. My beloved serving man.
Beloved serving man.
And already I'm disintegrating.
I don't know how to shave.
I don't know how to shave. I cut myself shaving. I don't know how to dress. I'm just such an idiot.
Yeah.
I'm like, Matt knows how to dress. Why is everyone
Matt
so
is
obsessed?
a grown man.
Yeah. It's a lot funnier if Matt intentionally dresses poorly.
Yeah.
Like he basically was doing, I think, all of book 4.
Yeah.
Like, I'm wearing fancy clothes, but I don't take care of them.
I don't take care of them, so I look a hot mess.
Yeah.
I'm a rebel without a cause.
But that's that. The next chapter tile is one I've never fucking seen before.
Oh, yeah. Whose point of view is it?
Nynaeve's. I think it's Nynaeve taking the Aes Sedai test.
Nice. Does she pass?
No, she fucking dies in there.
R.I.P.
It's
Rip.
over. She's been with us for 13 books, but see ya.
Gotta let her go. Kill your darlings.
Kill your darlings. Goodbye, Nynaeve. Sorry. So that's those chapters.
That's them.
As I just mentioned, we're gonna get a Nynaeve point of view in the next one. I think we'll get some more E2
Sweet.
some Perrin or Morgoth or something. I don't know.
Yeah, when is Morgoth gonna come and kick some sense into her stepson?
Yeah, so far we still have the dramatic irony of Morgoth not knowing that Galad is in charge of the White Cloaks, otherwise presumably she'd be like, oh, I'll go talk to him.
Oh. Hold on.
And of course no one in the camp knows that she is the queen, aside from Talonvor, who I fucking hate.
Yeah, Talonvor should die, I think.
Yeah.
First canon victim.
What's our mood after this?
Oh, guys, I keep forgetting. Okay, so I'm guessing your mood is mad.
Yeah, I guess. How about you?
I feel like, do we feel like resigned and apathetic are similar enough?
Yeah.
Okay, then I feel resigned.
I mostly feel resigned too. You can pretty much just feel it.
Just a dumb set of chapters with dumb things happening.
Not a lot of redeeming qualities, these chapters.
Like, come on.
Anyway, well, Sally tracks are moved. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thanks to Glenna McKenzie for our theme song. Thanks to our patrons on Patreon and our followers on social media. We sure do like you guys.
We sure do, especially because our social media is kind of silly. So thanks for following along.
Yeah, you know. Well, do you have a sign-off?
Oh, I do. Oh my god, you guys. I just went to the gym in our apartment building.
Oh, a very recent
Yeah,
one.
very recent, within like the last 2 hours. And I was just there to do my like little 30-minute walk, very leisurely. I just wanted to chill. I was going to do some like self-reflection activities while I was down there. That's what I've been working on this week. And there was this group of like 4 men. Mm-hmm. Our gym is divided into like the cardio machines and the weight machines, like most gyms are, you know, but there's this kind of like big archway, so they're connected. And these guys were playing their music super loud, slamming weights, talking, grunting, moaning. Like, when the weight was too heavy, it would just be like, and I heard it at first, and I took an earphone out and like whipped around because I was like, hey,
surely
fellas.
someone's not sexually moaning in the gym.
Yeah.
I like to think these 4 guys are just like, hey fellas, time for our Wednesday night homoerotic activities.
Yeah, I seriously was like, are you guys gonna fuck in the gym?
You stumbled into a porn set.
Yeah.
And didn't even know
and
it.
they were like,
right
oh
in front of
shit,
yourself.
we gotta wait until this girl
Right
finishes
in front
her
of my
walk.
treadmill.
Right in front of my treadmill. It's like,
I'm sorry.
God.
Well, people have some gym etiquette.
Don't grunt and moan in the gym. I'm sorry the weights are heavy. Maybe don't lift as heavy.
Yeah, if you can't keep it to yourself a little, then maybe do some home workouts.
And
first.
what is
And don't play your music without headphones.
don't play your music with headphones. Come on, you guys. It's 2023.
Yeah,
behave like
on.
it.
All right, everyone.
Animals.
Have a good week.
Good night.